This is going to be a quick run through for a profile template of the face. You're going to wind up with something that looks like this. And just like you did in portraits, we are going to be using relative scale. So in this particular case, I'm just going to say that's the top of my head, base of my chin, for no particular reason other than that's where I made my marks. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look halfway for the eye line. So I'm going to make myself a little mark, and I'm going to measure just to make sure. Now I'm not working on a curved surface like most of you aren't. So I want to make sure I get my eyes in the right place. So there's my eye line. And one of the neat things about doing profiles is that this measurement oftentimes will also be, half of that can oftentimes be the width of the face. So I'm going to measure. It's not always the case, but oftentimes it is. So one of the things you can do is just check and see. So you do a quick sight, you look at it, and you say that's going to be the width of my face. So for the sake of this demo, that's what I'm going to do. Divide it in half. And then just like the measurements you've been doing with the portrait, you're going to establish where the base of the nose is and where the center line of the lips is. So I'm going to go with the same thing we did before, where if that's roughly halfway, I'm going to go a little bit higher for the base of the nose. And then the lips, I'm going to break those into about a third. So I'm going to say that's going to be about my lip line. And then once I have that, I am going to establish my cranium. Now this is really, really important. And when I establish the cranium, what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to touch on all four sides, roughly in between the base of the nose and the lips, the front of the face, top of the head, back of the head. And that's important because that gives us this setback. And that's where I'm going to start measuring the eyes from. So we'll come back to that in a second. For now what I'm going to do is just going to pull the jawline in. And once I have that jawline, that also kind of tells you where your ear marker is going to be later. I'm going to measure from the eyes back to the ear because we know our ear is going to start roughly halfway back on the face. I'm going to use my measurements here. Mine are roughly 3 eyes back. I've seen people that are as wide as 5 eyes back. It's not a big deal, it's just whatever it is. Measurable and observable. And then I'm just going to cut off like a little pizza slice right there. And so I've got the front of the eye on the side, and this gives you a little bit look. Plus I've got that setback still. Now the great thing about this is once I know where the eye line is and I know where that setback is, that also is going to indicate to me where my nose is. So right here is my eye line. Well, on my particular face, my bridge of the nose is done curving by the time it gets to the eye line. That's not going to be the same for everybody, but for me it is. So I find that angle using sighting and down to the base of the nose. So easiest way to do it is just sight this angle and sight this angle. And then once you know where that is and you know where your lip line is, find out where your lips are going to line up with your eyes. So I'm going to say my lips are right about there. And in my particular case, my center line of the lip is roughly parallel to the base of my nose, which is pretty nice because in order to get through this, I can just now come and make one nice continuous line. And I'm getting pretty close to what my face dimensions are. Once I know where that is, I can go from the corner of my lip, and I can also measure up to what would be the top of the third eye or at the top of the bridge of the nose. And on most people, that's also going to tell you where the setback for the nostrils are. So a lot of times people don't like to draw noses because they're hard, but if you think about it in context, I just took all the mystery out of it. So there's my basic part of the lips. Once I have that, some of the details you can hit would be like where the neckline would be, coming out of the chin, down around the base of the neck, the brainstem. Another thing is if you come out of the tip of the lip to the edge of the nostril, out to the edge of the eye, just like on the portrait, a lot of times that's going to tell you where your eyebrows are. So you come in, most people have a little bump there at the front of their eyebrows. And then the rest of it is just details. So let's say in my case where my ear would be, my ear is not vertical. My ear's got a slight angle to it. So slightly up above the eye line, down to about the base of the nose for me. So you get the idea. The whole idea of the template is to get you close. It's not perfect. And in all things, remember that you are using measurable and observable sighting marks. If something doesn't look right, it probably isn't. So go back and measure it. And then ultimately, we'll come right back to where we started. Have fun with this. Hopefully you are able to have success right away with it. But again, it is challenging, so don't expect to be perfect at it right away.